Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. As you can tell from the title, I have a really exciting announcement to share with you guys, and that is that Emma from her YouTube channel Emmy and I are rebranding our Dickens vs. Tolstoy book club into a new book club called Game of Tomes. I am so excited. I hope you guys like the pun. We have been for a while now. I don't know if the right word is stuck, but we've just felt like we could do so much more with our book club, and we feel like there is so much potential and there are so many books that we could read from different writers with the same concept of Dickens versus Tolstoy, but expand it a little bit more. So I made some fun graphics for our Instagram story so that you guys can see our schedule of the books that we are going to be reading in 2023, and I thought that I would put those graphics on the screen and just tell you a little bit about the book club, and hopefully you would want to join, whether it's every month or some of the months, and we will of course be keeping up with our live shows and everything. It's basically Dickens versus Tolstoy but expanded with a new title. So this is what the graphic looks like. It says Game of Tomes. Which author will be crowned the Iron Tome? And then underneath on our scroll it says, a book club dedicated to comparing similar novels by different authors. It's going to go kind of like every 2 months. So 1 month we will be reading one book by one author, and then the next month we will be reading another book by another author. They're going to have similarities, similar themes. They're going to be similar in a way where we can have a discussion on how these two different authors handled some kind of similar theme, whether it's similar plot, character, genre, something like that. And as a little joke to go along with our Game of Tomes series title, the bottom of the scroll says each will battle to win the title of the Iron Tome. So at the end of the month, when we have our live show, you guys will be able to vote again, kind of like Dickens versus Tolstoy, which one you preferred. So it's going to be kind of like voting for a specific author, but every 2 months it'll be 2 different authors, which I feel like is going to be so much fun, and we'll be able to have a lot more discussion and a lot more variety, which I think will just keep it interesting, keep it engaging, keep it fun, and Emma and I are just really excited. So now I'm going to go through the schedule with you guys. So if you see any books that you have already read, then please feel free to reread them, or if it's a book that you've been meaning to read that you want to read with us, please join us. Or if you've already read them and you just want to join in the live show, then we will of course be updating you guys on the live show dates and all that stuff, usually through our Instagram just because that's the easiest way, but you guys will always see stuff popping up on YouTube because we always have our live shows on YouTube. But if you have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out to us and we will be happy to answer any question you have. So our first 2 authors for January and February are Ernest Hemingway and John Steinbeck. We are going to be reading in January A Farewell to Arms by Ernest Hemingway, and then in February we are going to be reading Once There Was a War by John Steinbeck. And then at the end of February, we are going to be having our live show discussing these 2 novels and how we feel about them and which author we prefer, which book we prefer. Now, I have been begging Emma to read A Farewell to Arms, and then since she read and loved A Movable Feast when I was visiting her in Canada, and we both really enjoy John Steinbeck's writing, we always feel like, you guys could completely disagree, but we feel like they are very comparable authors, so we wanted to pick authors that you could easily compare to. Through the Dickens vs. Tolstoy book club, a lot of you guys had comments saying, why isn't this Tolstoy versus Dostoevsky, or why isn't this Dickens versus Wilkie Collins, or something like that, or Thomas Hardy. So we wanted to kind of go off of that idea and be able to expand it in a way that we can pick different authors that are very easily comparable and see how they handle similar topics, similar themes, and similar plots. So A Farewell to Arms is a war story, and Once There Was a War is also a war story, and they have, I guess, somewhat similar writing styles or ways to handle writing in general. So we thought that it would be really fun to compare these 2 novels. So that's the whole idea for the book club. Now for the next months, for March and April, for March, we are going to be reading David Copperfield by Charles Dickens, and then for April, The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger. And then at the end of April, we will have our live show. Now, why we picked these 2 books is, number one, just because we are switching the Dickens vs. Tolstoy book club doesn't mean we will not be reading Dickens or Tolstoy anymore. We were just going to be reading more authors now, which I think is just so exciting. And what was kind of frustrating that we structured with the Dickens versus Tolstoy book club is that we were reading the works chronologically, and we are so excited to read some of Dickens's later works. And now with this idea, we aren't stuck into the chronological reading format. We can read David Copperfield if we want, and it's not chronological, or we can read The Mysteries of Edwin Drood, which is his last book. We have more leniency with it, I guess. Anyway, so why we picked these two books is because David Copperfield is that typical coming-of-age story, very Dickensian, kind of inspired by Dickens's own life, and then the first part of The Catcher in the Rye references David Copperfield. So we thought it would be so fun to kind of compare these two coming-of-age stories that have incredibly different styles, which I think is just so exciting because we can sort of see how two writers can write very similarly, and we could see how two writers from very different time periods can write very differently with similar themes, which I just feel like I'm so pumped for. You guys, if you don't know, The Catcher in the Rye is actually my least favorite classic. I first read it in high school and I haven't read it since, and I just despised it. But I feel like I would really like it now, and I have no idea why, so I'm really excited. I want to film a vlog about my reading journey with rereading my least favorite classic. I think that would be so fun, so look out for that when we read The Catcher in the Rye, and then we will have our live show discussing the two books, which I'm just pumped for. Now, I thought I would read you guys the beginning of The Catcher in the Rye just so that you guys can see how perfect this pairing is. So first we are going to read David Copperfield so that we can kind of understand the reference, or I guess make it a bit more fun to relate to the reference that is made in The Catcher in the Rye. So The Catcher in the Rye opens by saying, "If you really want to hear about it, the first thing you'll probably want to know is where I was born, and what my lousy childhood was like, and how my parents were occupied and all before they had me, and all that David Copperfield kind of crap." I just love that. It keeps going on, obviously, but I think that we have the protagonist that's also the antagonist, Holden Caulfield, who I guess is writing in a way that is very much unlike the David Copperfield kind of crap. So I think it would be really fun to have these very different styles on a very similar plot structure of a sort of two different unconventional coming-of-age stories. Anyway, I'm so excited for those two. Then in May, we are going to be reading The Brothers Karamazov by Fyodor Dostoevsky, and then in June, we are going to have you guys vote because Emma and I had a really hard time picking which one that we want to read. Either The Stranger, The Count of Monte Cristo, first of all, The Brothers Karamazov is huge, and I am terrified of that book. And then The Count of Monte Cristo is the longest book, I think, on my TBR, and again, terrified. And then the third book is Jude the Obscure. We wanted to pick something that could be comparable to The Brothers Karamazov, but the one hard part is that because we haven't read these books before, we don't really know what is comparable besides the basic themes and summaries that we have knowledge of each book. So that's why we thought maybe it would be fun if you guys had some kind of input and you could vote on which book you would like to read with us after The Brothers Karamazov so that we can kind of get a good book to have a really fun discussion comparing the two. I am really nervous. I'm really excited. If you guys watched my video of my 23 books that I must read in 2023, I made a really fun TBR going through all of my shelves. So many of the books I picked for that are part of the book club, and in the beginning of that video I was saying that I'm going to not put a bunch of those books on the list, and then I proceeded to put like every book that we're reading for the book club on that list. So they are definitely going to be read, which is great. I'm setting myself up hopefully for some success with that list, but yes, just thought I would put that in there because I was editing it and I'm like, Carolyn, you put like every book from the book club on this list. I don't know if that was not intentional or just my silly brain, but anyway. So yes, when it comes to probably May, we will have you vote for June which book we pick. And I'm really nervous. I have a feeling all of you are going to pick The Count of Monte Cristo. And I'm scared because we're only giving us a month to read each of these books. So yeah. That's up to you guys though. Then in July, we're going to be reading Orlando by Virginia Woolf, and in August, The Awakening by Kate Chopin. Those also are two books that I put on my 2023 must-read list. I mean, I guess I'm just trying to set myself up for success. I don't want to let myself down by putting a bunch of additional classics because I've been in a classics slump recently, or in 2022. Anyway, and then for September, we are going to be reading Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen, and then for October, Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. I am also really excited to read these two because I've never read Northanger Abbey, but I love Jane Austen, and I have read Wuthering Heights, but I haven't reread it in a very long time. And we wanted to also make them kind of seasonally accurate, so we picked Northanger Abbey for September and obviously Wuthering Heights for October because we thought that those would be really good atmospheric books for the autumnal season, and it would just fit with the mood itself. So yes, very excited about those two. In November, we are going to be reading Twelfth Night by William Shakespeare, and then in December, we are going to be reading Yevgeny Onegin by Alexander Pushkin. I am so excited because you guys know last year Yevgeny Onegin by Alexander Pushkin was my favorite book of the year, and I also am so excited to be reading more William Shakespeare because I love Shakespeare. I've loved him in the past. I read so much of him in 2019 and 2020 really, and I just kind of stopped reading his plays, and I really want to read them again. Emma and I had a really hard time trying to figure out which book we should pair with Yevgeny Onegin, and when I did my reading vlog of reading Yevgeny Onegin for the first time, I compared it to William Shakespeare because the rhyming and the stanzas and the way that it was structured reminded me a lot of Shakespeare. Being a Shakespeare fan for so long, and this was my first Pushkin, I actually preferred the way that Pushkin structured his verse more than how William Shakespeare structured his plays with his rhyme scheme and even his sonnets. So I feel like it would be really fun to compare the way that Shakespeare handled his writing, his rhyme, his rhythm, to Alexander Pushkin's writing, rhyme, and rhythm in Yevgeny Onegin. And we tried to have them be similar plots because Yevgeny Onegin has some kind of a love triangle, and Twelfth Night also has a love triangle. So we wanted to have those similarities as well. And then of course the live show will be at the end of December. Not a lot is changing. I mean, a lot is changing to the book club, but besides that, I don't think too much is changing. We are still going to be having live shows on each of our channels. We'll probably switch it back and forth to being on my channel and Emma's channel every other month. We will have you guys be voting during the live show or at the end of the live shows which one you guys preferred. We do have the Dickens versus Tolstoy Discord still. I haven't taken it down or anything. I have not looked at that thing in months because I just found it really overwhelming. I thought it was great, and I'm so glad that we could have that for you guys to have discussions, but because we are the creators, I guess, and we also try to respond to messages and comments, it's just a lot, and I found it a little overwhelming. So although I would love to have those discussions with you guys, the thing that is most fun for Emma and I guess takes away some of the pressure and stress, is talking to you guys in the live chat for the live shows, during the live shows. So I don't know if we are going to be adapting the Discord at all. I'm not going to be leaving a link or anything to it just because I don't really know what we want to do with that yet. So for now, we are just going to be talking to you guys. Whether you post stuff on Instagram, you can always tag us. We didn't really make a hashtag, but if you wanted to, you could just use Game of Tomes and tag us, and then we will of course reshare if you're joining. We would love, love, love for you to join, of course, which is why we made the book club, so that we could have, a fun group of readers together. Our main source of communication is probably going to be the live shows themselves, and also just reposting your posts on social media. Besides that, I think Emma and I will be filming some vlogs. We haven't really talked about that for sure, but I definitely want to film a vlog for The Catcher in the Rye. I think the Brothers Karamazov is definitely going to get a vlog because you guys know how much I love my Russian lit, And yeah, I feel like doing vlogs would just be so much fun, and I always enjoy doing them. So I think that's definitely going to happen. So I think that is everything that I wanted to tell you guys and that I wanted to say. I am really hoping that you're excited and that you're happy with the changes. I feel like this is going to just expand the book club and hopefully find new people that are interested in more writers. I feel like just doing Dickens and Tolstoy, maybe there are some readers out there that would like to join a book club surrounding classics, primarily classics. I don't know, Emma and I would maybe like to dabble in some contemporary literature as well, but for now it's mainly classics. That maybe you don't want to read just Dickens and Tolstoy. So I feel like this will also reach a wider group of people that will want to join in, which I think is always wonderful and gives you an opportunity, I guess, to be encouraged and have the excitement to read different classics by different authors, whether it's Dickens or Tolstoy or more, which I just feel like it just opens us up a little bit more, which I think is really fun, keeps it exciting, keeps it fresh, and will always be fun to have conversations. One thing that I should say is that Emma and I don't really want it to be a team thing anymore, whether she is on team one author and I'm on team the other author. We really just want it to be one conversation, not really trying to have you guys vote for one particular person over the other. It's really more of a discussion and your opinion, whether that's for one author or the other. So no teams or anything like it was for the Dickens versus Tolstoy debate. For now, it's more like a battle between the two authors themselves rather than me and Emma trying to convince you guys to vote for one author or another. So yes, I think that's it. I think that's all that I wanted to say. So if you have any questions or any suggestions, if you have two authors in mind or two books in mind that you think would be amazing to compare and to read together for future years, we do have 2023 set out, but I don't know how long we will be having this book club for. Hopefully a very long time, because Emma and I always love collaborating on things together and hosting this book club. So yes, definitely leave in a comment your thoughts, if you're going to join in, and if you have any suggestions for books in the future that we could compare and read together. So yes, I would love to know that. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you're excited. I am so excited, and hopefully you will be joining us in January for reading A Farewell to Arms, which is my favorite Ernest Hemingway book. If you've been meaning to read Ernest Hemingway, I think A Farewell to Arms is a perfect place to start with him. Or if you love Ernest Hemingway and you want to reread or read A Farewell to Arms for the first time, we would love for you to join us. So anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you are having a fantastic day, a fantastic end of the year, a fantastic new year, and I will see you very soon. And I hope you're very excited for what is to come in the Game of Tomes book club, because I think it's going to be great. Happy reading.